Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who's traveling with the president in France. Good morning to you, Jake. I wanted to start with American support for this mission in Israel, in Gaza. The U.S. provided support for that mission. Was it just logistical or intelligence help, or were they part of the planning?
Well, first, Martha, we didn't have any U.S. forces on the ground. Second, we've been working for months to support Israel in its efforts to rescue and recover hostages from Gaza, including the American hostages. And there weren't Americans among these four. But I'm not going to speak further to intelligence or operational matters because we need to protect their sensitivity.
We're all very grateful the hostages are free, of course, but the Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health says that hundreds were killed, more than 200 were killed. Do you think that is an accurate number, and does that concern you?
Well, of course, the Israeli Defense Forces have put out one number. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry has put out another number. We're looking into it. It will take some time for us to make any kind of determination, and we may never be able to definitively determine it. But we do know this, Martha. Civilians were killed, and that is tragic. It is heartbreaking. I've said before that the Palestinian people are going through hell in this war. They're caught in the crossfire. Hamas hides among civilian infrastructure, hides underground. And puts the Palestinian people in harm's way. And this whole thing, this whole tragedy could be over. All the hostages could be home. There could be a ceasefire if Hamas would just step up and say yes to the deal that the Israelis have accepted and that President Biden elaborated a week ago. So the world should call on Hamas to take this deal. But
let's go back to those numbers. The Palestinians say more than 200. The Israelis say not more than 100. That is a lot of that number concern you.
Well, every single loss of an innocent civilian in Gaza or anywhere else concerns us. It more than concerns us. It's tragic. It breaks our heart. It's awful. And that's why President Biden is working so hard to bring this war to an end. And he went out and he laid out a roadmap to achieve an enduring ceasefire, all of the hostages coming home, and the capacity for Gaza to be rebuilt so that Palestinians would not just be safe, but could have a better future.
Jake, we're talking about this specific operation, please. Can we talk about this specific operation? Are you not concerned with either of those numbers, whether it's 100 or 200? And I know you were concerned about loss of life, but we're talking about this military mission, not the ceasefire just yet.
Well, Martha, as I just said, and I will say it again, as many times as you asked the question, we are concerned about every loss of life, including in this operation. Anytime civilians are killed, we're concerned. Of course we are. That's why we want this war to end. The only way to get all of the hostages out and to end any more civilian casualties in Gaza is to get to a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage agreement. So the two are not distinct issues. They're connected issues. How do we end the death of civilians in Gaza, Martha? There is only one way. It is to get to a comprehensive ceasefire and hostage deal. That's what President Biden laid out. And that is, again, what he is reinforcing today, because Hamas accepting that deal would bring an end to the tragedy in Gaza.
So does the U.S. support Israel doing more operations like this in the very same way, even if this number of civilians were killed?
Look, the United States will support Israel in taking steps to try to rescue hostages who are currently being held in harm, held by Hamas, and we will continue to work with Israel to do that. We will also continue to reinforce the point that all of their military operations, including hostage rescue operations, should take every precaution to minimize the amount of civilian harm or civilian casualties. That is a point we will reinforce in all of our engagements with the Israelis going forward.